Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking specifically about the orange spine Gygaxians. All right, so what are the orange spine Gygaxians? We're going to talk about them in detail. We're specifically going to talk about what their meaning is. Okay, what do they make? What do those 6 books say together? What statement do they make together? Right. All right. So, what are the orange spine Gygaxians? So, the orange spine Gygaxians are a subset. They're half of all of the orange spine Easleys. The orange spine Easleys are 12 specific Dungeons and Dragons books that share the same attributes. All right. So the first is they were published between all of them. Okay, all of the orange spine Easleys have the same attributes. Right. What are those attributes? They were published between 1983 and 1987. They all have the classic orange spine. They all have Jeff Easley cover on them. They all are Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. They all are hardcovers. They all are Dungeons & Dragons 1E. Okay. All right, so let's talk about specifically the Orange Spine Gygaxians, right? So what are the Orange Spine Gygaxians? Which are the books? DMG, PHB, Monster Manual, okay? Monster Manual 2, right? Unearthed Arcana, and Oriental Adventures. That is the 6 books that are all Orange Spine Easleys, right? And they were all specifically on the byline. It says by Gary Gygax. That means by the way, for every single one of these, he was working with TSR. It's important to understand when these books actually arrived. Okay, so basically, the decision in 1983 and 1984, Gary Gygax was actually in Hollywood trying to get a Dungeons & Dragons movie made, and he was finishing work, his consultation on the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon series, which was successful. Okay, it was absolutely. I think it's very hard to contest that was successful. It was short run, but it was a successful television show. Right, so basically, what the orange spines were a decision by Gary Gygax. One of the things he wanted to do was he wanted to solidify what is the core of the game, right? So basically, the orange spines are almost like the spine of 1E, right? And while you can go back and you can get those earlier Monster Manuals, PHBs, and DMGs with those, completely much lower art quality than Jeff Easley's. Basically, with the orange spines, basically Gary Gygax was really cleaning up shop, right? He was really, erecting essentially a central pole that everything would stand on, right? And if you take those 12 books and you stack them up, you are really seeing the heart and soul of Dungeons and Dragons, and you're seeing what the king of Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax, the creator, the founder, is saying. This is really preeminent. This is important, right? And this is Dungeons and Dragons. You have the history between 1974 and 1986, 12 years where Gary Gygax was working right there with TSR and was very directly connected with the game. And the orange spines are his victory lap. They are Gary Gygax at the very end saying, let's clean this mess up. Let's make some books that you can stand games on, right? That you can build huge campaigns on. That you can, make sure that there's something strong for you and your friends, right? So so the Orange Spine books, the Orange Spine Easleys, all together they erect a solid spine for the game, right? So that it can stand tall, right? Now the Orange Spine Gygaxians, those 6, right? First and foremost, of course, the core 3 are absolutely critical to the game, but it's also very important to realize that in the Orange Spine Gygaxians, right, you see that Gary Gygax is putting his name on the core of the game, right? And so one of the things that I think that the Orange Spine Gygaxians really establish is it answers the question of Dave Arneson. there's a huge debate within the Dungeons & Dragons community about how important Dave Arneson is. It is my contention he is minimally important. I truly don't believe in my heart that he's a creator for the game. And the reason why is here, basically in the Orange Spine Gygaxians, you see 6 books, right? Where when Gary Gygax put his name on those books, no one at TSR contested that, right? They said, your name belongs here because you've put in literally the blood, sweat, and tears. He sweated it out in basement rooms, doing the work to balance the game, right? And he, and there was blood. There were times where he got paper cuts, he invested his blood, and there were tears, you can bet when Gary Gygax left in 1986, there were tears prior to that leaving, right? This is the game he created, and he was only with TSR for 12 years. And that's my issue is, right, when you see a byline, I'm a writer myself, it is incredibly hard to write, right? And it is incredibly hard to get your material published, right? And Dave Arneson just didn't do that work. He really never did, in my opinion. And so for me, the creator of the game, right, and I'm not talking, I understand there were legal battles, right? And TSR was required to shove, Dave Arneson's name onto the game, right? But to me, when you say founder of Dungeons & Dragons, that is Gary Gygax. And I think that the Orange Spine Gygaxians are incredibly strong evidence that Gary Gygax is the heart of the game. And the reality is, Dave Arneson, what is he? He really is a footnote, right? He cannot be forgotten. He needs to be a footnote. The footnote can't be left out, right? But he is a footnote. And the heart of the game is Gary Gygax. He is the true creator. He's the one that truly invested the time, energy, and I really think the game is Gygax. The game isn't Arneson. It just isn't, right? I know that's a huge debate. That's my side of it. Okay, what else do the Orange Spine Gygaxians state? Well, one, Gary Gygax, what was he? He was a writer. He did a ton of writing, right? Now, the reality is he stood that company up, and we wouldn't have Dungeons & Dragons today without it. He was a businessman, right? And he was a hustler, right? He was an American. He was so many things, right? But the Orange Spine Gygaxians say, without a doubt, he was a writer. He wrote. He put words to pen, and he spent an incredible amount of time and energy and passion on putting words to paper. And it's important, and we can't forget that aspect of him, right? What else was he? He was a designer. He was a game designer. You are seeing, the core 3 under the Orange Spine Gygaxians. He was a game designer, and it is arguable he is the very best game designer that has ever been born on American soil, without a doubt, right? I strongly believe that, right? What else was he? He was a laborer. He worked so hard, right? He wrote these 6 books, right, and got them to Orange Spine publishing format, right? All within 12 years, while standing up TSR, right? While trying to create a movie. Gary Gygax talked with Orson Welles. He worked very, very hard, right? He was there. He consulted for specifically for the cartoon, right? He just put so many hours and so much labor into this game. And it's a lesson to us, right? If we're going to create, if we're going to do something that's going to be remembered for decades or centuries past our death, it's going to take hard work, real hours, and real drive. And you see all that specifically in the Orange Spine Gygaxians. It's all there. And last, he was invested. He was invested in his energy, in his passion, in his time, right? He was invested in the game. It's very, very important to see. And I truly believe that the Orange Spine Gygaxians were very much his victory lap. Okay. One last thing, I think when people talk about the orange spine Easleys, the 12, some people are like, where's the Fiend Folio? Just so you're aware, the Fiend Folio qualified in every single way to be an orange spine book, but it never got an orange spine, right? And the reason why was, one, Gygax ran out of time, and then two, it really wasn't American. Fiend Folio really was, I think one of the reasons, was the reason why it was left to last and never made it through was it wasn't American, it was British, right? The Fiend Folio really came from Don Turnbull, who was a British creator. And while it's really nice to have the Fiend Folio, it's interesting to realize the Fiend Folio never made it to the Orange Spine Easley grouping, right? But that is everything I believe is true about the Orange Spine Gygaxians. I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think I'm right or wrong on any of this? Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.